Hello, my name is Frida Montoya. I'm with the University of Texas at San Antonio, currently trying to make a device to burst the coronavirus cells. We're trying to do this by supplying the superhero Gambit with a new gadget. So the superhero Gambit basically has this power where anything that he touches, he overcharges with his own power. And as things get overcharged to a very high amount, they burst into very explosive reactions. So what we're trying to do is making a device so that he is able to overcharge things via remote power, because right now his power is limited to him having to touch the actual objects in order to overcharge them. So we have a couple of designs here. We already did the charge, we looked at the numbers, we made some code for our device. As you can see here, regular cell, right? We're trying to compare this to the coronavirus. So after a cell is being put through a highest amount of power, the cell will start to expand and then it will burst. So what we're trying to do is for him to overcharge all the coronaviruses in the world via remote style so that they can all burst and we can be done with this pandemic. Like I said, I'm with a group of scientists right now, but we're all working through this remotely. We have been documenting our progress over here. We've been looking at things via the textbooks, trying to make designs of our own sketches. But now I'm gonna turn it over to the rest of my group so they can keep explaining the process.
Hello, my name is Dr. Shwarya Satish, and I'm part of the scientists that Frida and Juan both introduced. As you can see, times are tough here, and we're making do with what we have. Unfortunately, I don't have my lab, so this will be my lab. My other research and R&D division include the two coders who are adults who work over there, and you can hear them in the background because they're coding. They're coding for our secret Project X project. And as professional X-Men, we are here to help the X-Men in orders of Dr. Professor Xavier and his team, which includes Gambit, unfortunately. So, to really think about what our device does, our device is a type of energy converter. And in our case, we are modeling the device itself as a cylinder, so we can model Fourier's heat law, as you can see right here. And all these factors are what factor into our calculations to see how big or how the device needs to be formatted. This equation allows us to calculate the heat flux, and it allows us to calculate the heat flow, which we derive from this equation. To know the exacts of what Mr. Gambit needs, we need to know how large his hand is, how he's going to use it, and how long he'll need to use it, which we then calculate to find heat flux, which we then use to calculate energy flux. Energy conversion would be the mechanisms of using heat, which is an energy type. So, in regular terms, without any factors being discarded for now, as Mr. Gambit, because of the quarantine situation, has not gotten back to us. This is the generic equation that we can use to derive all these values. Using this equation, we derived it to that, because we can't cancel anything currently out unless he tells us specifically where he wants to use it and how he wants to use it. So yes, this is our equations that we're using. Thank you.
Along with the conductive heat transfer process that Ash previously described to you, there is also emissive power associated with Gambit's powers. So the emissive power can be calculated with E sub B, which equals sigma times T to the fourth, T being temperature. And this is something that also has to be taken into account when creating the glove where we could enhance its powers. Along with this, there are multiple equations for absorption, transmission, and reflection of the radiant power being transferred between his body to the glove as well as other objects. And to go even further, we also have to include the geometry, the orientation, and shape of the object that he's trying to interact with, all of which absorb and reflect and transmit the thermal radiation differently.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. As mentioned before by my colleagues, we have been cooperating with multiple superheroes to be able to eradicate COVID-19 for good. Currently, we're working with the X-Men, and we're working with Gambit at the moment. As you know, his powers are of transforming potential energy into kinetic energy for objects, and then produce a massive amount of destruction when throwing those objects into anyone. But the problem is that he's only able to use them when he's in direct contact with the objects. He's not able to project that power into objects that are far away from him. Therefore, we have created a support item that will fit him perfectly. You can think of it as an ace in the hole for him. And yes, that's the point for the day. Let me just look for it. We have created so many items that I don't know where it is, so give me just a moment. Yeah, found it. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to be amazed. This is the final Gambit. A beauty, isn't she? So, final Gambit will allow Gambit to project his energy, similar to how radiation acts on other objects, and make an object far away from him without him needing to touch it, convert its potential energy into kinetic energy. Now, we have considered different materials to make this item possible. So let's go through them. Let's start with the forearm section. So in the forearm section, we have a protection area. Underneath the protection area, which is the layer that's going to be in direct contact with Gambit, is going to be a piezoelectric sheet. And that piezoelectric sheet, what we'll be able to do is to convert that kinetic energy that has been applying to the object into electric energy. And with the combination of the vibranium reinforcement, we'll be able to convert that electric energy into an electromagnetic field through Faraday's law. Now, as you guys know, when it comes to vibranium, it is able to absorb and contain energy accumulated by forces that have been applied towards it. And that's what it's going to do in this case as well. First, the vibranium reinforcement is going to work as a shield, so any hits that he receives will also help accumulate kinetic energy. And second, every time that he charges the gauntlet, the vibranium will be able to hold that energy. So it's not an instant use. He can actually accumulate energy and use it whenever he'll desire. Of course, as a trigger, we have designed something that he'll be able to modify as well regarding the intensity that he needs. Based on his power, we have assumed that it works on the electromagnetic spectrum. Therefore, the amount of energy that he puts into an item, just because all the items that he gets in contact with turn violet, or in this case, radiate violet, we're assuming that it's going under the violet wavelength. The shortest wavelength, but the most powerful. Which makes sense considering how he's not able to project it. Now, when it comes to redirecting that energy, we have right here the power redirection. And that power redirection will work the same as the electromagnetic spectrum. So if he's able to modify it before usage, at the moment that it starts modification, if he decides to go towards the violet side, he'll produce a more powerful transmission. However, a shorter distance will be needed compared to if he goes towards the red side. If he goes towards the red side, it will be a longer distance. However, it will be with the least amount of energy. Again, that's completely normal because we're just trying to make him able to use his powers even when he's not in contact with other objects. Now let's go next to it. Next to it, we have the power accumulation bar, and the power accumulation will show how much power he has been accumulating throughout his fight. The fuller it is, the more power that he's able to release. The lower it is, the lowest will be just one charge, as if when he just changes the potential energy to kinetic energy of one object. Now, how to redirect it? As you can see, the only it is a glove. The only part of the glove that is covering an entire finger will be the index finger, and the reason why we selected that is so that he has a better sense of redirection. He's able just to point at something, even if it's smaller, and able to transmit his energy towards that object. He doesn't need multiple emitters at all. However, we also have some catalysts. As you can see, the catalysts are located in the knuckles. The catalysts have two functions in this case. The first one, of course, to make the transmission of his powers towards the emitter easier and faster. But the second one is in case he decides to use it as a devastating power. Once he has accumulated enough power, he should be able to punch. And once the catalysts are in contact with something else, they'll act as an emitter. So to be able to provide a punch with the power, with the intensity and energy of him charging another object, which is pretty awesome. I'll tell you that. We of course have the conductors transmitting from the vibranium coating towards the catalyst and towards the emitter. And the last piece, which is still very important, is the sleeve, the actual glove. And this glove is made of unstable molecules. The reason why we selected that type of clothing is because we have examined different superheroes. We have examined their powers. We have examined also the clothing that they use. Amongst all of them, the best design for superhero costume has been done by Reed Richards, or aka Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four. What he decided to do was to use unstable molecule clothing, so that the uniform that they use adapts to the powers that each one has. This is pivotal when it comes to Gambit, because if something went wrong for some reason, or if he went to overcharge this device, or even just on regular use, he won't destroy the device. The unstable molecules will be able to adapt to his power, therefore he's able to use the ultimate Gambit multiple times throughout the battle. Hope this is enough, but we'll keep with our work so that we're able to eradicate this virus completely. As you can see in my back, I'm working something with Iron Man, so I'll leave you be.
As previously discussed by my colleagues, Gambit is a superhero who has the ability to give energy to any object from a potential energy to a kinetic energy state, thus allowing the energy to move through a free ranging motion. And the only thing that prevents Gambit from being an overpowered character or overpowered hero is his limits, and this limit is that he only has the ability to touch an object within his range. And the gadget that was previously described by my peers gives him the ability to touch any object from a longer distance than what he could possibly do before. And this object ranged from a nanoscale to a macro scale in size. And by doing this, we have the ability to combat COVID-19 through his powers or anything that he wants to do with this gadget. And this concludes our video. Thank you.